Mello's pulled it out of his arse. And it's a Re-Rock chairman Rick Furman, so it's obviously a Rick piece.
I don't know. We're about to talk about it though. Let's do it.
If it's a council piece, it's a Rick piece. It's about the only thing in the rag. Let's talk about the rag.
Well, let's do it once we're up and running, big fella.
A rag. It is a rag.
Absolutely.
Arse paper. Rag.
Rightio. I think we're all good to go, sir. I think we are all good to go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Everybody else? Boys, girls, what's the other one?
No, that's it.
That's it. Trump and the rest. He was like, that's bullshit. Yeah. Cut that out. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody who's tuning in this evening to Thursday night's event, Dinner Nerve Spin Doctors.
That's the
one. Episode 4, season 2, something like that. Fair
racking them up, racking and stacking.
Keep going, keep going. So how's your week been, councillor?
Solid.
Solid? Been busy?
Yes.
I'm as busy as one-legged man in an ass-kicking competition, I'm telling you.
Welding. 37 degrees welding.
That sounds fun. Yeah, right.
Welding, 37 degrees equals beer.
Sounds like a fair thing to me.
That's it. Nah, but look, productive, rewarding, and interesting.
Interesting's a good word, and interesting's a great word for where
no harassment so far this week from the powers that be. But I'm sure there's still got a day to go.
Well, they'll be planning. There's always you've got to have time to plan and.
Let's do the introduction.
Yes, let's do it. We should have a quick one this evening, I reckon.
I'm a councillor on Temora Shire Council. However, the views I express here are mine and mine alone, and not those of Temora Shire Council.
You're being summoned.
I've got a call coming in from the president. No, it's me brother. I'm ringing back.
The president? Is that President Albo, President Furman, or is it the Donald?
No,
because I'm sitting right here. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dean McRae. I'm owned by nobody. I say exactly what I think when I think how I think it, and my views are absolutely my own. And you can share them or you can not. But at the end of the day, I perfectly support your right to agree or disagree with me as you see fit. So there's my introduction. Mine's far less arduous than yours because I have far less, I guess.
Well, you've got less people hunting you.
Yeah, I think so. You've got like an active little group currently.
I've got a group of people hunting me with a budget.
Yes.
Yeah, so once they've got a budget.
I'm sure they would like to hunt me, but, that's sort of...
But look, so far they've spent $70,000 on codes of conduct. We've got another one in train. So what that want to run to, we don't know. What the end is, we don't know. Who cares, really? We don't know. Effective councillors in Temora Shire Council, probably moi. Ineffective councillors, probably 8. No, seriously.
I'm not in the room.
I'm getting codes of conduct, clearly because I'm asking the questions that they don't want answered. And the questions are massive. But one thing that really doesn't, people don't give a rat's.
Yeah, no, people aren't that interested in most of this stuff.
People don't care. And I'll give you an example of just how disgusting this is. We've got an ex-general manager that had every opportunity to use up their accrued leave and entitlements whilst they were in the position.
Yes.
Okay. But no. With the agreement of the current mayor, they determined that it would probably be far better for that individual to work right up till the end date of their agreed contract and then be appointed to another role.
I would term it as a bullshit role by the sounds of it, for all intents and purposes.
To be positioned into another role, and that other role is an executive officer. But the role was to provide management consultancy advice to the newly appointed general manager.
But then go
to enable leadership transition. But 2 paragraphs later, it says, but both parties agree that
you don't need to do that. You can go on holiday.
Well, you don't have to do any work.
Yeah. So it's a complete bullshit position.
But at the same time,
maybe we need a doge.
No, but at the same time, at the same time, you still accrue leave and entitlements.
Yeah.
Now, but get this.
So I'll be parasiting off the ratepayers for the next 100 years.
Get this. This is the tricky bit. The only person that the governing body can appoint is the general manager.
Yes.
Now, the mayor appointed the ex-general manager to staff.
Yeah.
But there's no resolution of council. There's no, what I can find in any of the legislation, authority to do so.
Yeah. So what happens when you make up the rules to suit yourself and do whatever you want?
But
You're
this is the thing.
unaccountable.
But here we are in the midst of another code of conduct where they want to flog me with the rules, but they tend to break the rules every other day. Which rules are we playing by?
Rules for me, not for thee. I've said it a million times. That's
seriously,
that's how it works.
Which rules?
Well, the ones that suit them at the time.
Well, that doesn't suit me.
They don't care what suits you or me or anybody else out in the citizenry as long as you toe the fucking line.
Why would you give up your rights? I don't give up my rights.
I'm not giving mine up, I can tell you.
No, and that's the whole thing. Why would you give up your rights? I don't give up my rights. I haven't given them the right to constantly harass me and constantly give me codes of conduct for simply asking them the most basic of questions as to their governance. And they can't answer those questions.
No.
They can't answer the questions about their governance, and yet I'm the one with the code of conduct breaches. What is wrong with this picture?
Well, there's plenty wrong with it. There's plenty wrong with governments around the world. Tomorrow's not special in that.
No,
line.
But it is special. It's special in a Bruce McAvaney special
kind of
way. Because when you listen to the mayor talk about how special Temora is, well, it is obviously a very special place. Well, it's so effing special that it's got its own set of rules.
It makes them up as they go along.
That's the whole thing. And that's what absolutely shits me to the moon.
I've noticed.
And beyond.
I've noticed. I agree. But I mean, I guess these rules I've seen go on in every council, every local government, every state government, every federal government, every international government for as long as I've been paying attention to politics. And it shits me to tears on a global scale.
How much
that
do you
these
reckon,
parasites fly off taxpayer dollars?
How much do you reckon Telstra would have made out of that most recent resignation of a New South Wales minister? When they basically got their company car to take them up on a piss up into the Hunter Valley on a wine tour. And then it got out. And then they said, no, it's okay, I'll just pay for it. And then everyone said, no, it's probably not good enough.
They're probably a bit late for that. Yeah, see, because this is a piss take. And you guys have been banging on about the other guys doing it, which they all do, because, well, they did it. Well, you did it worse, and you're worse at it than what I am, because they're all full of shit.
They are. And that's the whole thing.
Fundamentally full of shit is what they are.
Well, drink up.
You know?
But they are fundamentally completely corrupt. And it really is just the most disgusting system of governance that we've ever encountered.
Have you seen the thing with Politico in the US?
No.
So that's a pretty big news outlet, organisation, media outlet as time of writing. So if more information comes out that challenges what I'm about to say comes out, I'll be the first one to go, well, hang on, maybe they were wrong. Turns out that USA aid thing.
Oh, yes.
Right? So Trump's just gone back. That's done.
That's a Doge one.
Yeah.
You're
talking about Elon, you're talking about Doge, you're talking about Vivek, you're talking about Trump, however they're structuring it. They're over having a couple of beers and they go, oh, fuck, look at this waste of money, look at this rot. But anyway, they've gone through it and they've defunded that. The next day, this Politico has not been in a position to pay any of its employees. No payroll because there's no money there. Because it turns out that this particular political supposedly
news outlet
has been entirely funded by the certain USA corrupt entity that's sitting there. And this shit goes on everywhere. It just so happens that the poor lunatic who's run the US now with a couple of his mates are sitting there.
Telling me that the US government are funding propaganda?
Well, absolutely I am. And did you see the other one with So you know how obviously they've been going at Trump. Now Trump will sit there with Joe Rogan and he'll have a 3-hour conversation. He did it, no problem at all. And he's going, I've got nothing to hide. I'll say exactly what I think.
So did Mel Gibson.
So
and Mel Gibson believes
Mel.
in God, and Mel Gibson believes that the future started 6,000 years ago. Okay, Mel.
That's cool, but they can both put sentences together and sit there live and answer questions.
Yeah, and look,
now they have just released, because obviously one of the Kamala interviews with ABC USA, whatever. I think all ABCs need to be defunded, waste taxpayer dollars. But the ABC in America that did a big interview, I was supposed to be all in and genuine, blah, 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 of Kamala. Well, Trump turned around and sued them for it. And he said, that's bullshit. Here's the go. They had to release the entire everything. And wouldn't you know it, it was extremely edited.
Massively
extremely
bullshit.
So the bloke asking the questions that asked a question. So in the actual interview, she'd come out with some gibbering nonsense that made no sense if she could find a sentence. And then when they've actually released what turned out to be a 30-minute interview, or whatever it was that they formally released, the questions that they'd asked versus the answers she gave were not completely different. Where they'd edited, cut, paste, hacked it to make her not look like a complete bumbling imbecile.
Yes.
These people are all full of shit.
That's where the world's at.
The world's at, and it starts at low-level shit here with
it's low-level shit. I took some time out of my day.
You've got to stop taking your time out of day for some shit.
No. I get paid for this, and I take it seriously. I took some time out of my day to drive all the way out to Area Park to go to a sewage options meeting, which was a community.
That sounds a bit shitty.
A community meeting.
But a bump.
Yes. A community meeting discussing different options that the community has to consider for their own waste treatment going forward.
Yep.
There were 2 councillors there out of 9.
Yep.
One of them was, the GOAT, greatest of all time, Nigel Judd, coming up for 50 years in local government in 2027. Hoo-yah! That is the same Nigel Judd who we exposed 2 or 3 episodes ago for lying in a code of conduct evidence expose against myself.
Yes.
Booyah! How much credibility can you give a guy who's got masters of local government, been in local government for in excess of 45 years, yet still manages to lie in a code of conduct?
You certainly can't claim.
Against
an
a fellow councillor.
Can't claim an error. You can't claim a
no.
An incompetence
No, we've gone through it.
I didn't know.
Well, I put all the evidence forward, and would you believe there's been no contact? There's been no
retraction, no
refuting it.
You're saying that's the thing with a lot of this stuff, ladies and gentlemen.
I put it out.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, i.e., the public,
yes,
who are sitting here going, "Well, hang on, councillor, maybe you're a bastard. Why haven't these people refuted any of it? Not a thing. There has not been. I mean, look, I've invited everybody to come on here. But if any of them don't want to come on here, why don't you? I can show you. I'll show you how to set one of these up.
Or set up your own.
You guys can set up your own, and you can live stream, and you can refute anything that comes out of our mouths. I got no problem with that. If you can justifiably do it, but we know you're not going to do it because you can't refute the truth. Well, the truth seems to be skewing very, very heavily in this man's favour regarding his claims. Irrefutable.
And if you're not going to stand up and refute it, then it stands as fact.
I think so. Like
that is how it works.
If somebody, legally,
if you put it forward a number of times and it's not refuted, then it becomes fact.
If somebody wants to come out and call me an asshole, I'm not going to refute that because there's evidence that would suggest that I am. If somebody come out and said he's a liar, now then we're going to have a problem.
Well, he did a certain thing at a certain time at a certain place, and you know that wasn't true, and you've got evidence to the contrary.
Correct. I'm gonna correct there's certain things that I'm happy to be called because they're probably true. But if you're going to call me out on A, B, C, or D, you better have some facts.
Well,
and if it, and any time I've done it,
I can't believe someone who's done a Masters of Local Government, has been in local government for 45 years, can think that they can go and make statements of that effect and that gravity.
And I'll tell you why they think that, because they're so comfy in their cushy bullshit.
They are.
Feathered little sheltered nest, sheltered workshop.
I'll tell you today, when I drove out to Area Park, I drove out there on my own. No one invited me to come and carpool.
That's a bit harsh.
So out there at Area Park, there was Councillor Nigel Judd, who resides at Area Park, and I think he's the what would you say?
Unofficial mayor of
the
Area
de facto mayor of Area Park.
Yeah.
Look, it's not been written down, and I don't think it's been mentioned, but I really do think that Councillor Rick Furman, or the Mayor of Temora, and Councillor Nigel Judd, the unofficial Mayor of Area Park, I think they've got a
bit of an
unofficial agreement. That
quid pro quo, would you call it?
If you support me in Temora, I'll support you in Area Park, and whatever goes through there, we'll wax.
That's very cute.
I think it's 100%. That's my own personal opinion.
You're allowed to have opinions, yes.
There was the town planner, Claire Golder. There was manager of assets, Rob Fisher. There was director of environmental services, Chris Dunstan, and there was the general manager, Melissa Boxall. So there was Melissa Boxall, Chris Dunstan, Rob Fisher, and Claire Golder. I could have made up the fifth.
Could have carpooled.
No, but I just drove out there on my own.
Oh, fair enough.
And I was listening to my own radio show and whatever.
And I think about the environment. It's got to save money on fuel and emissions and some such shit.
Yeah, but I don't.
Save the planet.
I don't feel included in that group. And I don't feel included in that group for so many reasons, because every other day they're sticking pineapples in my arse.
That's awfully romantic. It sounds painful, but it's awfully romantic. Yeah, it's
every other day.
Bit hurtful.
Every other day. Now, would you believe, and we touched on this last week.
Yeah.
We spoke about my most recent code of conduct.
We did briefly touch on that.
And my rejection of the process with the investigator.
Which I think that's probably not a bad way to play it. Like, I tend to just go, I'm not negotiating with terrorists. I'm not responding when Al Qaeda send me something.
I've been through 4 of these.
Yeah.
To what end?
Yeah,
and now we're in the 5th.
Aggravation and a waste of taxpayer dollars.
I have spent significant resources of my own defending these things, and my defence is ignored.
Yep.
Because it's a skewed game. It's so corrupt. The whole process is so corrupt. Like, we've been through this multiple times on this show. However, when in the first code of conduct, huge amounts of evidence are neglected and not provided to the investigator. And then I provide that evidence to the investigator, and then that evidence is ignored. Then you start to say this process is completely corrupt.
I won't lie to you, and I've probably said it before. I think out of the 2 of us, you were the only one who thought the process may have had any merit to start with.
But seriously, when you go to
you
court,
took it very seriously.
When you go to court, when you go to court, there is a process and there are rules.
Yes.
When you have a code of conduct, there is a process, but there are no rules. And that's the difference. They can ignore rules of evidence. They can ignore everything they want. Yeah. And as long as they get the result, because it's user pays, it's a beautiful system.
Oh, it's as corrupt as it gets.
From the bullies, it's a wonderful system whereby they can pay.
You be careful, Councillor Irvine. You be careful.
Absolutely. And we've all seen that footage, haven't we? Anyone who watches this show has seen the footage of heard the
audio
of the mayor threatening me. You be careful. You be careful. Don't you dare let the community know what's going on.
Yeah, you shut your trap, or you'll be in big trouble, mister.
Because I'm the big dog. And I'm going to flog you with codes of conduct until it don't matter. We can't afford Christmas decorations. We can't afford upgrades to disability services. We can't afford this. We can't afford that. But we can sure as shit afford as many codes of conduct as it takes to shut you up. So you be careful. You be very careful.
Oh, I love it.
No, seriously.
I'm serious. I find it funny because I've seen all the shit and play in various capacities forever.
It's disgusting. And all of this information has been forwarded on to the Minister for Local Government, and hello?
Yeah, crickets. It's all about suiting who, where, when.
That's right. But yet he goes and puts the pressure on Georges River Council because Labor councillors are getting frivolous and unintended codes of conduct put on them.
And that's part of it. That's the part that
that's the political part of it.
Of course.
That's the part of Ron being in the chair. I'll look after my pals this year.
He has to. Yes, absolutely he has to.
And look, everything that Ron says, I ascribe to. Ron really wants to return the decision-making power to the council. He wants to disempower this bureaucracy that has festered and bloated and absolutely ballooned. And we're sitting here, and honestly, I went to a meeting tonight and it was full of bureaucracy.
I've got a question actually regarding all that. Now, the people who were out at that meeting, was it after hours?
Yes.
So do they get paid extra to
They're
be
all
out there, or they're all salaried?
No,
okay,
they're all salaried.
Just checking, whether they're getting overtime or anything like that.
Mate, they get overtime.
I know, I'm sure they do, but
the general manager is on 300 grand a year.
I like to question these things. One, not for my
300 grand a year.
Watching.
If you can't drive out to Area Park and have a meeting with your peoples when you're on 300 grand a year, I'm telling you, that's $6 grand a week ballpark.
Yeah. Oh, it's not a bad coin.
Now, on a 5-day week,
you can't live on it, but it's a start. Yeah.
On a 5-day week, that's $1,200 a day.
It's a tough gig, I'm telling you.
But they've got a 4-day week. Now, the outdoor staff are on a 4-day week.
Right.
Now, I don't know whether that's transitioned across.
Now, I guess on that, I actually think probably the outdoor staff, out of anybody in the council system, are the ones who probably deserve a bloody pay rise.
Yes, but you know the way that this dynamic works. And the executive's job is to keep the wages as suppressed as hard as they can so that there is enough pie for them.
Oh, of course.
And if their pie is threatened by a grader driver, they'll perish the grader driver.
Well, they need to know their place.
They do.
You need to understand.
You need to understand that we haven't got budget for that. We've got budget for codes of conduct, but we haven't got budgets for you.
You don't count. You're here to kick shit, stay shit kicker.
You are here to stay a slave.
Absolutely.
And we are here to make sure that the organisation provides the type of lifestyle that we consider us worthy of.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's.
I mean, look, a lot of the people who watch this program, I don't know that we get millennials,
this is how it is, and it's a fiefdom, and it's a disgusting little setup whereby they can determine their remuneration,
of course, and they level it against, and then they go, oh, well, hang on a minute, which was the council the other day that increased their salaries by? They're putting up rates 40-something%, I think. Now I've got to remember that. Somebody who was paying attention caught my attention briefly the other week. One of the councils in a city, Sydney, some
councils
shit show in there
across the state
just put their rates up to whatever the number was. I went, what?
Yes.
Is that for real? Like, how are these people not rioting and putting these people into wood chippers? How is that not happening?
Because people sit there and they grumble over a beer at the club and they stamp their foot at the bus stop when they're talking to their friends, and they
do nothing, and they just go, well, we can't change the world. It is how it is.
And they sit there like a little slave, and they just go, yes, master.
Look, and it's sad. It's very sad, because realistically, all people need to do is band together a little bit and go, you know what?
But even not even band together. Just say what you think.
Yeah, well, and courage is supposed to be contagious.
Well, but just say what you think. And if enough people say what they think, then that's the best way.
Yeah.
I want to live in a society where people say what they think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you know what people think. Not what the Temora Independent tells you what to think.
All right, tell you what, let's have a look at the paper. Let's do that. So first thing, Dr. Kamath died. Dr. Kamath was certainly my doctor as a child. Very nice fellow. I've haven't seen him for about 100 years, it would seem. But yes, I won't disagree with Temora loses a much-loved legend. I've got to say, from all memory, Dr. Kamath was that, for sure.
He's passed away. Dr. Kamath was aged 82. There's not a person in Temora that hasn't been to Dr. Kamath, I'm telling you.
That fire that we discussed has made the front page in the
Hang
paper.
on.
Oh, sorry.
Him and his wife moved to Temora from England in 1975. So here we are, 2025. That's 50 years.
Yep.
Now, honestly, there is not a person in Temora that doesn't know Dr. Kamal, hasn't visited Dr. Kamal, and it's a sad day. It's the cycle of life, and Dr. Kamal's passed to another world, and
hopefully there's less propaganda where he is.
Well, like I say, hats off to Dr. Kamal.
Absolutely.
We salute you.
Absolutely.
Charges over the Main Street fire. Now, we
did
very shortly after this event.
I believe when it first went up and it was bulldozed within 15 minutes of it catching fire.
Yes.
I believe I might have made mention of the fact that seemed awfully efficient and awfully suspicious that it was dealt with so quickly.
But apparently a 19-year-old man has been charged. But apparently this individual is residing in the Bathurst area.
Oh.
Now, there's another individual they are yet to determine.
Yes.
And they're still inquiries.
Right.
But it seems to have been well and truly fallen at the feet of these unfortunate individuals.
Well, look, hey, and when I first brought it up, my biggest question wasn't so much whether it was a shitbox probably needed to be burnt down or whether it was something shonky or not per se. I was just stunned because if you remember, Bland's building remember when Bland's burnt down 100 years ago?
And this is the thing.
Well, they mentioned that you and I were talking about it on the Spit Doctor, so they thought they'd better investigate.
At the time of the blaze, fire and rescue crews acted quickly to prevent flames spreading to the Westminster Hotel next door. Upon inspection, after the fire was completely extinguished,
and the
building was found to be structurally unstable and was demolished 2 days after it had been engulfed in flames.
I would have hazarded a guess that
who was the engineer and who did the
That's a fair question. But I mean, I would have put forward that building was structurally buggered long before it caught fire.
No, but seriously, who was the engineer? Who was the engineer, and who got on site,
and who managed to, within 2 days, go, this needs to be cleaned up before any more evidence can be found? It just seemed
it was found to be structurally unstable and was demolished 2 days after the fire. So, who was the engineer? Where's the engineer's report? And who authorised the demolition? There's 3 questions there that pop up straight away.
Yep. Which, at the time, I didn't talk about engineers' reports, but my question was,
someone has to determine
fast. This is who made the call. And again,
that blew us away, didn't it? Like, it was just like fire gone.
Very, very efficient. Not much moves that efficiently unless I'm doing it on
fire gone.
And I would tell you that. And again, I remember back when I was a kid, teenager, whatever, when Bland's and W Bland's. Remember our Bland's hardware store down next to where Diamonds and Dust was? Fuck, there's still a vacant building there.
Yes,
but it stood for, best I can remember, months and months. Like it stood there, burned out, kind of obviously half fenced off, and then when they pulled it down, they put a little shed kind of there, and I mean, I'm sure there would have been talk
about. You'd expect to see the blue and white police
tape. There'd be
cross it for a week or whatever,
a period of time for an investigation to undertake. This thing was gone before the fire had been put out, but the flames weren't cold.
But if it was determined to be unstable, then you'd put a bit of sight fencing around to protect the public.
Well, you would think so.
But anyway, it was gone.
Seems extremely efficient. It's far too efficient.
Well, I don't know. There's more questions. It raises more questions. So simply, the answers provide.
My recommendation for
the answers provide more questions. So the questions are: who was the engineer? Can we have a copy of the engineer's report? And who authorised it?
Who's got that? That's fairly.
So there's 3.
Yep. Our mates here are Polly's at the club.
Polly's at the club. This
is going to be fun. This will be interesting, yeah? Don't you reckon?
Well, I reckon they should call it Build a Bridge. Build a bridge to Wollongong.
Build a bridge to Wollongong.
Yeah. Now, Michael and Steph could probably sit there.
Michael, what's his name?
Yes. And Steph, local.
Yeah.
Should probably sit there and explain to the community why they haven't managed to get a bridge over the River Kwai
It does seem like an awfully challenging proposition to build a bridge.
Apparently, the bridge is in place now, but they just can't get the approach roads situated.
Right. Look, I'm not an engineer, but seems awfully for a world that's full of engineers and full of uni degrees and full of an awful lot of there are still some very capable men with graders and know how to build shit. Oh, it's got me a little bit baffled, right? But I'm assuming that when it says the Temora branch of the National Party is hosting a pollies at the club on Tuesday, I'm assuming, a bit like most of these things, that'll just be for
Nabs.
they're not going to be inviting the other candidates in the upcoming federal election.
No, they're not coming.
They're not going to be inviting them. It'll just be
when's that?
March the 4th from 6 p.m. till 7:30 p.m.
Right. Well, see, I've got an invitation.
Well, I mean, look, I'm half tempted to rock up. It could be fun.
But I've got an invitation to attend a council reception for independent candidate for Riverina, James Gooden, on Thursday, the 13th of February at 2 p.m.
Well, now, I don't know James.
But what I'll say is this. I'm a busy man. 2 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon doesn't suit me.
Yeah.
So no one asked me. I imagine the mayor is a card-carrying member of the National, so he won't go. But if he does, it'll be condescending and basically...
trying to take the piss out of the candidate.
Yeah. And I want to go.
Yeah.
But really, James, if you're watching, reach out.
Well, James has actually reached out to me this week.
Well, I want to talk to James.
So I'm more than happy to get his details and put you in contact with him, councillor. No problem at all. In fact, as a few of these other candidates have emerged or are emerging now that the boundaries have changed as well for the federal election.
Yeah. Boundaries.
Yes. So now I think yes, and everywhere counts as part of the Riverina now. Like it seems a bit nonsensical, but anyway, I've had 4 candidates who are going to be involved that have reached out this week.
I've got no preference for any of the independents as yet, but I have got a very strong message for the community, and that is if you vote for either one of the major parties, you are voting for the status quo, and you will continue to be rogered at every opportunity by a corrupt and completely disgusting government that has no interests of yours whatsoever.
And it doesn't matter blue team, blue green team if you count the Nationals as blue green, and the LNP or the Labor Party.
They might as well be purple.
Don't kid yourself. They might as well, blend it up into that baby poo colour when you add it together.
No, it's all rubbish. And the whole thing is so corrupt that until people start electing local people who've got...
Well, it's going to be, hang on, they'd say that in a federal election, that's hard because if the electorate encompasses, and I'm not even sure, I haven't seen Chair really bothered to investigate the latest boundaries, but you're talking about an area that encompasses Wagga, Young, Temora, Junee, Kuta, fucking all the way to Yass. So to elect a local person in that, well, how's that going to work?
Okay.
So,
well, Michael McCormick obviously is a local in that context. So when I say, well, an unencumbered local person, because obviously when you elect a Michael McCormick, he's encumbered by the fact that he's a member of the National Party and he has to prescribe to the National Party policies.
Yes, he has to
I think that's
the line.
Yeah, so when I say a local, I mean an unencumbered local who's actually got the local issues at their heart. Dutton is a train wreck.
Dutton's a dunce. The only reason Dutton's going to be the next Prime Minister, and he will be,
is because Albo's
so shit.
Yes.
There is nothing that...
It's a Biden-Trump.
There's nothing... Yeah. Well, it's not even close, because people keep comparing Peter Dutton to Trump, and Dutton could...
But I compare Albo to Biden.
Albo's very similar to Biden, but Dutton's not much better than fucking Biden.
No.
They both have absolutely nothing going for them.
No, and they've got nothing behind them.
And Dutton hasn't got the balls to come out with anything.
No.
He's not going to leave Paris. He's not going to leave the WHO. He's not going to tell the UN to pull their heads in. He's not going to lower our taxes.
He wants to do business with China.
He wants to do as he's told. Here's what he wants. He wants to be Prime Minister And all he needs to do right now, from here until the election, is shut the hell up, stay out of the way, and Albo will keep blowing himself up because that's what the Labor Party do every time they get in. And you got some fucking dunce like Albanese who realistically is special. He is a special kind of little communist. And all Dutton's got to do is shut his trap, not step in too many dog poos along the way, like the stupid long lunch thing that he came out with the other day. Dumbass, just seriously. No, but out of all the policies on planet Earth, making corporate lunches tax deductible is probably a pretty stupid thing to kind of come out and say. Like, that's not a policy.
That doesn't appeal to the masses.
Fuck. Doesn't even appeal.
It doesn't really affect the cost of living for the average person.
No difference.
The average person is about to lose their house. Doesn't give a flying
shit whether the CEO absolutely
about.
All Dutton's got to do is, one, reasonably shut his trap, talk about lowering taxes and the cost of living, and say, and I'd like to oppose the energy policy trajectory we're currently on, and he will be Prime Minister.
Yes.
And it wouldn't matter if it was Dutton, if it was Angus Taylor, if it was any other half-baked idiot LNP member currently who's just sitting there desperately holding on to not being it. We're not as shit as them. You're correct. And whoever it will be, they could roll out anybody. Would not matter. If local Mayor Rick Furman turned around and put his hat in the ring and Dutton got booted and he was made the leader of the LNP tomorrow, he would be the next Prime Minister. There would be absolutely no merit in it, but he would get the job because it doesn't matter. Whoever's leading the Liberal Party, come this election, is going to be the next Prime Minister. No ifs, buts, maybes.
No,
there is
way too big a pond for the mayor to do.
Oh, look, I remember when Gladys shit the bed and ran out, and I actually spoke to Rick down at his shop. I said, Rick, what are you ever crack? Mate, step up, go on. Bigger pond. Oh, no, couldn't do that. Oh, Jesus.
No, I'd have to leave my beloved my special community.
The safe bubble.
Where I've got all my special friends who work behind the scenes to keep me special.
I guarantee you right now, if Rick Furman was the leader of the Liberal Party come this election, he would be the next Prime Minister of Australia. If Anthony Irvine was the leader of the Liberal Party at the next election, he would be the next Prime Minister of Australia. If that pot plant in the corner was the leader of the Liberal Party.
I understand your point.
That's what it's going to be. And this is sadly the shit that Australians keep voting for.
Okay, well, the shit that the Tomorrow Independent keeps frothing up is Tomorrow's EV network stuck in neutral. That is a editorial column here by Camillo Malacari.
Your mate Camillo.
With the increasing prevalence of electric vehicles, the question of adding more charging infrastructure in Tomorrow is an ongoing discussion at council. Well, of course it is, but there's a million other things that are way more important as far as I'm concerned.
How many people in Tomorrow own an EV? If you own an EV, send us a message.
If you own a TV, send us a message. I'm telling you, the amount of people in Tomorrow who have got the means to afford an electric vehicle in the current cost of living crisis is absolutely minuscule. It is for wankers and floggers. It is for the up-and-comers and the look-at-me's. It is not for the average person. Now, the simple fact remains that here we are with an electronic grid on the verge of collapse.
Oh, because you've got your electric...
But let's charge our EVs out here in the countryside. People, you need to wake up and smell the roses. We live on the other side of the Blue Mountains, out in the wilds of Australia.
The wilds of Australia.
The wilds of Australia. Out in the hinterland. And this is where you need range and you need surety of return.
I don't know. I can think of a few people who probably do own EVs that want to drive them that I don't necessarily want the surety of them returning. Let's send a couple of them on a trip.
Oh, look.
And if they don't come back, hey, I'm not going to lose a minute's sleep. I'm certainly not going to be leading a search party for a few.
I've got an e-bike and I love it. And it's a pisser.
You wanker.
And I charge it off a typical 10 amp socket in my shed and it takes F all to charge up and it's a ripper. And I'm telling you, I'm out on a ride and I see that charge level getting
steaks.
I see that charge level getting there and my arsehole tightens right up. And I go, I might be pushing this shit next home. I'm not going to, I can push a push bike home. I can push a push bike home. I can't push a effing Land Cruiser home. I'm telling you, when you're out there.
Very, very rarely does anybody driving a Land Cruiser have to push it far.
No.
But I'll tell you, here's the thing. The
whole idea. We went through this whole thing recently at council, and I went through the process with you. Council wanted to give up some prime parking spaces down to the ex-services club to accommodate a parasitic provider that want to use Essential Energy's infrastructure, right? They want to drop off a pole that's got capacity and then bolt their charging infrastructure to an essential energy pole. So it's really, and then they want council to provide parking spaces, signage and line marking.
Oh, goody. So they can make a fortune.
So what are these wankers actually providing? They're providing a couple of boxes that plug in to the mains so that they can charge at 1/4 of the rate that the current charging station in the car park at the back behind the council chambers in the most hidden, obscured location in Temora they could possibly put it. But it's a fast charger. They've got one outlet. Now, in the lead up to the council decision regarding the allocation of these parking spaces to this alternate provider, I made a point of consistently monitoring, excuse me, the usage at the current site. And over the course of a week, there was one vehicle there.
Who's driving that vehicle? Where did you find that?
Yeah, it's a very pale blue BYD. And I've got a suspicion that it may even have connections to
the mafia
staff at Temora Shire Council. So that might be wrong. But what I'm saying is, here we are. Kimberlow's banging the drum for more infrastructure. Show me the need.
There is no need. It's a rort. The whole green scam is a scam.
No, but the Aviation Museum have got 4. I think there's access to 4. I know there's at least 2 turrets, and I think there's 2 outlets on each turret at the Temora Aviation Museum. So there's 4 outlets. There's one outlet at the.
Which sort of makes sense because we do get a lot of people come down from Sydney that kind of
Canberra
and Sydney from those flying weekends. We are going to get a handful of people who are driving those.
Who want to drive their electric piece of shit over the hill and take their electric piece of shit back home.
Apparently they make good firelighters, so I've heard.
So they say.
But look, now on all seriousness, I don't care what you drive. Choose to drive whatever you want. Where I run into trouble is when they're trying to tell us that, one, they're going to try and give power companies the authority to turn off our air conditioning. This is what they want to make.
So these wankers can charge their cars.
But they want to have authority over your home to turn off your heating and cooling with smart meters as they deem fit.
Yes.
That's not communism, sure. Yeah. And then they want to turn around and, we've got a grid crisis. By the way, we're not going to improve any coal. We're not going to bring any. We don't want to talk about nuclear. That's a terrifying thought. We don't want to upgrade our coal-fired power stations. We want to give that away.
Yes.
We're very generous, we're Australians.
We can't
and then in the next fucking conversation go, but everybody needs to drive these electric vehicles, plug them into the grid that doesn't work, doesn't have any power, and can't be driven by coal because that would be pretty hypocritical anyway. But we're going to charge these things on fucking solar panels. Put a solar panel on a roof of your Tesla and drive around on that, and if it doesn't charge,
but if you want to talk about retarded, this is the whole thing. One thing that residents of Temora, this will resonate with, people outside the area
may or may not
get it. Council have reached out, and over the next week or two, there's these community forums for the strategic plan for the next 10 years that drives Temora. Okay. Now they're asking for ideas, and what they'll do is they'll sit there and they'll field all of your ideas and they'll sift through them. And they'll grab your idea and they'll piggyback on that. And then if it works, they'll own it. And they'll claim it as theirs. And they'll say, we're fucking geniuses.
We are very, very clever. Look at what we've come up with.
Yes. But I'll tell you, that's not true. I've put forward multiple really good ideas and they get buried.
How do you know they're good ideas?
I know they're good ideas. Well, I'll tell you a good idea. I put forward an idea. There's already a confluence of the stormwater that leaves Temora CBD and town.
Yeah.
And it goes through a lower area of Temora, lower
channel.
Yeah. And then it goes out through the research station and ends up out of the lake.
Yep.
So my proposal with working with the natural landforms and thinking of sensible solutions would be to formalise a wetland, to slow this water down, drop out any heavy metals and contaminants, clean the water up, and then for a period after that to formalise some water ski runs that would be tourist attractions, would be high quality, value adding, adding to the lifestyle, the amenity of the town, and then flow into the lake. So, number one.
Well, it doesn't sound like a terrible idea.
Number one. Well, it's a low cost idea too.
I like low cost
ideas. Number one,
ideas.
we've improved the water quality going into the lake. We've dealt with all of these other problems. We've created bird and wildlife habitat. And then we've created a cell that could store water. For example, at the moment, the council are having trouble installing some footbridges at the lake. And the only solution to facilitate that installation is to drop the level in the lake. If you had this upstream storage, you could either pump the water up there or you could release the water downstream, undertake the works, and then release the water from upstream and refill the lake.
Yeah, right.
It gives you so much flexibility. Would you believe that this idea has been quashed by council? I've got the full support of the Lake Centenary Management Committee.
So how do you mean quashed? Now, I don't attend these
they've
meetings.
Just buried it. I have bought this.
Have you put it on your Facebook page?
Steph Cook knows about it.
Right. So have you put it on your Facebook page and said, "Oh, I've got a great idea"? Because as a councillor, I know that.
The next step is to go to the Facebook page. I'm sure this is the whole thing, though. I've been to the Lake Centenary Management Committee. I've been to council. I've mentioned it with Steph Cook. So I've mentioned it with our state minister.
Yep.
The people who are in control of the lake, who've got a full endorsement. Steph thought it was a great idea, but council haven't acted on it.
Yeah.
And I'm a councillor. For fuck's sake. Do I have to put it on my Facebook page as well?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think every one of these great ideas / policies.
Well,
that's what that is. That's a policy. So what I would be putting forward is, Anthony Irvine, Councillor Anthony Irvine.
But I've canvassed it too.
Yeah.
I've canvassed it.
And you put it out to the public. As you've noticed, when you and I do shit like this on Facebook pages, sometimes it gets a little bit of traction. Not always, but sometimes. But
what I'm telling you is this.
Yeah.
I put a submission into the street tree policy.
Yeah, I remember you told everyone that.
Yes. And 12 months after the fact, they adopted one of the recommendations that I put in my submission.
Yeah.
But they owned it.
Yeah, of course.
Well, fuck off.
That's what politicians do, mate.
That's exactly right.
Every good idea is the head of the table's idea.
So what I'm telling you is
anything that's crap idea, that's your idea.
I'm going to go to these strategic management meetings.
Sure.
I'm going to listen to everything that's put forward, and I'm going to put forward, because I've put forward some radical but very effective proposals.
Sure.
My proposal for the heavy vehicle
bypass.
It's not a bypass. It's just a heavy vehicle diversion.
Yep.
In Temora. And the management of heavy vehicles in the short to medium term is viable and effective.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, there's been a proposal to develop some of the land to the southern end of Temora on the eastern side of Journey Road.
Right.
That's going to generate stormwater. My proposal with the route through Camp Street and then linking around to Journey Road had accommodated stormwater management.
Yeah.
So in order to facilitate these developments further out in the catchment, they need to maintain or establish stormwater management.
Yeah.
My idea works with the existing problems and the future problems.
Yeah.
they get shut down and they'll get revisited. And someone will say, I'm a genius, I've thought of this. No, you've stolen my idea and you've seconded it because I'm the devil and I can't possibly have a good idea.
During my many years campaigning, quite loud and proud, I did run a theory of I'd love the major parties to steal all of my ideas. And most of my ideas, let's be fair, are
they're on
solid libertarian ideas. I'd sit there and I'd go, great, I want Peter Dutton or Anthony Albanese to have the kahunas to steal my ideas. And they're not my ideas, they come down the line from
a picture. Yeah. I'm going to put together a picture. I'm going to put a list together, and I'm going to make a submission to this 10-year strategic plan.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you that I will hold up this document and I will show it to you in 10 years' time, and there will be so much.
See what reflects.
There will be so much that they have stolen.
But that's actually a good thing.
It is a good thing, but
as long as they're getting it done,
no. The thing that shits me is they sit there and they just know better and they tell you, no,
they'll tell you that complete dunce while getting all your good shit. Yeah,
that's right. And the thing that shits me to tears is I've been elected by the people to put forward this stuff, and then they want to steal it off me, and then they want to claim credit for it. No, you don't deserve it. You're getting paid a shit ton of money and you're bringing nothing to the table. Here I am. I'm being paid an absolute peanut, and I'm bringing the big ideas. I'm bringing the solutions, and you people are treating me like an absolute piece of shit. So quit your codes of conduct and wake the fuck up. These ideas are coming, and they're coming at you hard, and you know that you can't withstand them. You know that they're great ideas, and you know that they are the future of this community. Simple.
Sounds all right to me.
These ideas, like, there's an idea that I've already put forward to council. They're talking about the activation of the airport precinct. The only long-term solution in that area is to close Airport Road at the highway end.
Right.
Now, they're currently trying to use that as an alternate heavy vehicle route.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. Okay. Now, it doesn't work for 1,000 reasons. Now, reason one, you can't stack heavy vehicles coming southbound, waiting to turn across the traffic path to come up Airport Road without massive roadworks. Okay, when you do, they've got to go across a railway line. You haven't got room to stack them at the stop sign out to the highway.
Yeah.
So then, in order to accommodate that, you have to actually divert the highway.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that's a cheap alternative. Divert the highway to give room for heavy vehicles to stack before the railway line.
Yep.
Transport for New South Wales are currently trying to do away with level crossings. They don't want that interface between heavy vehicles and trains. The biggest issue they've got there is that site is at the confluence of 2 runways.
Yep.
So even further across the road at the jet boat track, they have to have light towers that you lower.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That don't interfere with the flight path of vehicles like aircraft coming in.
Yeah.
So the idea of putting an overpass
there is just not going to...
It's never going to happen because you haven't got the height.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so here we are. Practical people. Shut the road. Once you do that, you know what you can do? You can put a taxiway from the current airfield across Airport Street, and you can activate all of that land on the eastern side of the railway, of the Airport Street.
Yeah.
Between Airport Street and the railway line, all the way back to town. You can activate that as house and hangar or business packages.
Yeah.
And connect.
How much of that land though is not already owned by people?
It's all owned by people.
Yeah.
No, people have to come on board and they want to have their
sell
land
certain amounts of or develop it or do whatever. I should hope that's an option.
But even to the point where if you didn't want to develop your land, but they wanted to put a taxiway down along the railway line,
and
they wanted to buy 50 metres of your land, they could compulsorily resume it if they.
God, that makes me want to vomit.
No, but still, if it activates all of the land all the way back to town, and there's one idiot who's sitting there being an F-wit,
Well, no, that turning around saying I'm not interested doesn't make you an F-wit.
No,
Not at all. I disagree with you there
Well,
on that because
as long as
it's your land. Fuck off. I don't want you on it. I'm quite happy here where I am. Thank you very much.
okay, then the solution is don't do anything. Wait for that person to pass on, and then do an agreement with the incoming.
Whoever, perhaps.
Okay, that might be the case.
But you know, like I can never endorse compulsory anything.
No, that might be the case. However, what that does is it basically just deals with all of those problems. The other thing is, with the advent of inland rail, how important is that rail link? And will that rail link even be necessary?
Well, that's going to be an interesting.
If that rail link comes out,
if that project ever gets off the ground,
if that rail link comes out, then all that's off the table. Isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's.
You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, you can run heavy vehicles up Airport Street, and that might be your heavy vehicle alternate route because that gets heavy vehicles off the Goldfields Way.
Yeah.
Out near the lake. They don't even come into town. They go down Airport Road. They come around the showground. They go across another really
up behind there where BFB go generally and past there and around the corner.
Yes.
They can drive up past my joint. I don't care.
But we need to have these sensible conversations. At the moment, council won't have a grown-up conversation about any of it. They're shit scared.
Of course.
To even open the can of worms. I raised the Camp Street alternative.
But this is again where
I got held down and I got vilified. I got flogged. I got flogged by the paper. I got flogged by individuals. I got flogged by the council.
And you know, like one thing, if you're going to put ideas forward, obviously there is always that risk. The other side is I haven't seen anybody come up with a different alternative. I haven't seen anybody else put up an alternative. And even if you put up an idea and go, this is the idea, of course some people are going to go, oh, shit idea, don't like it. Cool. Guess what? Come up with your own ideas.
Yes.
Put something out. Come up with a better plan. I'm all ears. And you might turn around to somebody and go, well, actually, I hadn't thought of that. That's great. Let's work towards that. As a councillor, every time you have one of these good ideas, I would absolutely be doing a pretty serious post going, right, a Councillor Anthony Irvine policy post.
I'll give you.
This is what I'm thinking.
I'll give you an example. I raised the issue of a mural in town in March 2021.
Yeah.
Now, believe it or not, that migrated all the way through the council processes, and currently it sits on the books of the Heritage Committee.
Yeah.
And would you believe that it's in the future projects list on the Heritage Committee, murals? Would you believe I went to a Heritage Committee meeting today? And
pardon me.
I was led to believe that a report had been done by the Heritage Advisor and the manager of the Bundaburra Centre relative to appropriate locations and appropriate material for murals.
Right.
Would you believe that I found out today that report hasn't been done?
Well, I would, and I think regarding...
It's 2025, mate.
Oh, look, of course.
It's February 2025. This project's been...
If I was dodging the joint, though, I'd be going... I don't know why we need that committee. Don't know why we need that committee.
Well, certainly, it's a committee where good ideas go to die, obviously.
Sure,
so
but
I'm going to reactivate that.
But I would also be going, you know, if an owner of a building wants to paint their fucking wall, go for it, put whatever they want on there, they can fund it and they can hire you or the other guy or whoever the hell they want, hire a kid with a spray can to paint their wall, all good. I don't really see it having any value for council or any role for council. Same as if GrainCorp wants to paint their silos.
But that's the same as saying, why worry about the verges on the side of the road? Why worry about the trees in the parks? Why worry about parks?
I'm not. I'd privatise them. I've already made that. I've made that very clear. My stance on it is that.
Look, that's hyper-libertarianism, and it's not going to happen here. No. Here we are in this quasi-socialist regime that we exist in.
Twitching now. Don't use that word. Make me sad. No, look, I mean, I get it. I get it.
No, but the simple fact is, don't differentiate your socialist shit for that and not that.
Oh no, I'm all for all.
If you're going to be socialist, you be socialist across the board.
For everything. Yeah, that's right.
And that's where these people are.
And I'm anti-socialist across the board. I pull the whole lot.
But this is where these people fuck up all the time because they are socialist when it suits them and capitalist when it's not.
That's right.
That-
Agrarian socialists is
They
the
are-
common term, you know. And look, again, I'm
Hypocritical
I'm
socialists,
hardcore. I've got no shame in it. I would privatise the parks as much as humanly possible.
They
I would
won't.
privatise the bridges.
They won't.
I'd make the roads
They won't.
available for sale.
Can you
If
imagine what
BFB
they've got?
wants to pay for
Can
a
you
road,
imagine what's going to go
Well,
into
Alcora,
this
whatever you call
10-year
it.
strategic plan?
Oh.
More power to us, more control to us. We're going to tell you how it's going to be.
and that's happening all around the world. They're aiming for smart cities.
Yes.
Do your little Google on smart cities. If that shit pushes through, which is what they're pushing for, there'll be 15-minute cities. The big goal, and they advertise it. 15-minute cities. You won't be allowed to leave your 15-minute radius.
And what are we going to do for a living?
We'll do as we're told. Like good little social.
What are we going to do?
We'll get a little handout from the government, and they'll have you doing a little role somewhere to
Look,
earn your crust of bread.
Where is the growth?
There isn't going to be.
The Min's government has announced recently that they're going to build electric buses for public transport down in Nowra. Okay, so Nowra is south of Wollongong, south of Shell Harbour, north of Bateman's Bay. Low socioeconomic, high Indigenous population, not much going for it, not much industry.
Yeah.
The Min's government have basically said, you're a basket case. Here's some industry. We're going to fund it. You're going to build electric buses for Australia. So it's not commercially viable.
No.
It's not the best alternative for Australians. It's basically just a massive bullshit.
And I imagine if we look a little bit deeper down there would be a politician who's probably marginally about to get in at Labor level.
Who'd know?
I'm not sure
who owns the land.
I'm not sure who the minister
is. There is going to be, the trough is going to be massive.
Of course.
And they are going to be pushing each other out of the road to get into that trough.
Chris Min's got a cousin that lives down there.
Absolutely.
You know, that's how this shit works, right?
And this is where it's all fucked. No, it is. It's
that could be my political slogan if I ran another campaign. It's all fucked, and I'll try and fix it.
Because it is. There's no commercial sense to doing it. There's no commercial reason to doing it, and there's no benefit.
Unless you're a shareholder in the company that's
unless
getting all
you
the
are
contracts on the gravy train, suckling on the inappropriate too.
Unless you are
exist. Absolutely
hard.
Yeah, and that's sadly is how the world's designed. And it happens here, there, everywhere else.
And that's where AUKUS and all of these other agreements.
For sure.
And the sooner people realise that that's how it is.
And are happy enough to state it out loud because it is.
But these people are living on these 500 square metre blocks in Sydney. And what's their job? What's their meaning in life? What's their fallback position? Where are they going? Who are they going to work for? We're becoming this socialised.
We are, I reckon, and I'm hoping the fact that Trump's doing the things he's doing at the moment will help push that shit back. But
look,
we are becoming or heading in the general direction of where Argentina was 30, 40 years ago, where our bureaucracy is growing. Like you've got that
bureaucracy is growing at a pace.
Jim Chalmers was on there the other day talking about their massive job growth. They're all fucking government jobs.
Yes.
They're not real jobs.
No.
And here's the other one. Here's the kicker that blew me away the other day. They were bragging because this is the only place in the world. It's the only time in history where being this disability is being bragged about because these people are all fucking profiting off it. Is allegedly there's about 5 million disabled people in Australia living with disability.
Out of 25,
26 million people in this country. Apparently 20% of Australians are disabled. Now, that came out of one of the health ministers for the Labor Party the other day. I can't remember her name.
Wow.
Oh, it'll come to me, some bonehead. Anyways, they're bragging about it, of course, because look at all our NDIHS and all this shit. We've got to do all these services for all these broken people. If that's the case, we've got a very, very serious, either a very serious gene pool problem. And that's not take the piss because, there is genuine people with disabilities.
Yeah, I want an inquiry.
We've got a fucking complete rot that's absolutely got.
But what's going on in the water? What's going on in the food? Like if we're that disabled and that broken, that 20%
of the population is all afflicted with a disability
of an NDIS scale,
of where it's statistically written down that they're bragging about it on Twitter, we've got a very significant problem.
we're fucked.
We're fucked.
1 in 5.
1 in 5 is a pretty terrifying number of disabled people. And what counts as, oh, I've got a broken finger or that's not a disability. Fuck
No.
off. You know, I don't know about you're older than what I am.
No, that's why they gave you 10.
Yeah, that's
if one of them fails, you've got 9.
Yeah, got 9 more to go. But
It's like teeth.
does that put you on the disability list? You know what I mean? Like
2 kidneys, 2 eyes.
Now it may do, you know, like, but 5 million, 20% of the Australian population is apparently disabled. Now, I'll say this very, very clearly. There are some genuine people with some genuine disabilities. And those people deserve some love, support, and, you know, all that sort of thing. Great, you know. I would hazard a guess that my old man qualified as genuinely disabled when he fucking broke his neck.
Yes.
You know, he couldn't scratch his face, couldn't pick his nose, couldn't wipe his ass. He was disabled, right?
Yes.
So I'll probably, people go, you're so harsh. Well, no, I'm not harsh.
No, you've been at the
I've been there. I understand this shit. So when I see some fucking muppet
who's bunging it on.
Oh, I'm just broken. I have no time.
No
sympathy, no empathy for you. You're full of shit and you need to harden up. And every single one of those people arguably should, one, have to pay back every dollar that they've scammed out of the taxpayer. I'm going to say scammed out of the government because the government feeds this shit. They love it. And
the taxpayer is buckling.
The taxpayer's buckling, but the government's getting bigger.
But here we are, even in a situation at the moment, we've had a situation where aged care has relied on slave labour.
Of course.
Now that they've adjusted and recognised that aged care workers do real work, which everyone knew they did, all of the aged care providers are now marginal in terms of their profitability.
But if you've got 5 million that are disabled, how many have we got that are old age?
Well, absolutely.
Now we're really cutting into the you know, where the hell are we at as a society?
There's about 10 workers left.
But no wonder I've got 3 gigs happening every day.
But do you understand that in the end, we're going to have to look after ourselves, look after our
loved ones. It'll be our responsibility.
Yes, and create situations where we can afford to do so. Now, the whole world is rapidly pushing us to this extermination point where we can't afford to exist. What happened? What the fuck happened? In the last 20 years, I went from having prospects and a future and running a business with some ideas going forward, and now we've been globalized, corporatized, socialized, and basically, you know,
we're owned. We are owned, and we're indentured slaves. We're no better than the cattle out at Tees here. We are simply
the only thing we can do is resist and fight. And I'm telling you, I just know that the whole idea, like the whole aged care sector, is on its knees because they can't afford the wages that an average person needs to get for that type of work. So all of a sudden they're all bankrupt. So who's going to look after them? Who's going to look after? Well, generally it was your children.
Yeah.
As an old person, who looked after you was your children. Households typically used to have old people and young people.
Yeah.
All and old people look after
the
young people, allowing the middle-aged people to go to work. And
yeah. And you didn't have to pay $1 million for childcare through the week or whatever story may have been, because
this whole system is starting to break down. But also, what I do notice, and this is the thing of most concern to me, is, you know, they're talking about, well, but train drivers, I think it was 125 grand a year. I think train drivers were getting in
something
Sydney.
like that, maybe.
Well, they deserve every cent. I heard that mature age apprentices at one of the power providers were going to be approaching upwards of 100 grand a year. Anyone who's on $40,000 or $50,000 a year you are being left behind.
Oh, look,
You are being left in the dirt. There's a divergence here. No, seriously.
I
When we've
agree with you.
got a general manager at Temora Shire Council on 300,000 a year, and a grader driver on 60, what's the difference?
The disparity is massive.
Who's providing more service to the agency? And what is the difference? Yeah, there was a time when a CEO of a company would get 10% more than the highest paid worker.
Yeah.
And that was about an average. That was back in the day when things were proper.
Probably a little more balanced, yes.
Yes. Nowadays, we've got a situation where we've got a CEO on 300K and the average worker on 60.
Yeah.
Well, that's 5 times more.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've got other people who are trying to get to that trough, who are sitting there in upper middle management, sucking the guts out of it.
Their piece of the pie.
And also, what I pointed out before, taking credit for other people's ideas and other people's work, profiting off the back of the worker. But, and this is the thing that shits me the most, when they fuck up, they run a mile. They won't take responsibility. So if you want the big dollars, take responsibility for your shit. That's the difference. These, like, if you want
to, that's the I guess the game. That's the politicking in that a lot of people don't like, and I agree with it.
They won't take any responsibility for their fuck ups,
because that can be easily. No, that was you. I told you to fix that.
Yes.
Hang on, I told you. Why did you do it?
When it lands and it seats squarely at their feet, they just ignore it and they pretend it never happened. And they're protected, they're covered up for, and it's disgusting.
For sure.
And if it does
like,
get to that next
level, there's a golden parachute there to sneak out the back door.
In the private sector, if you want the big bucks, you take the big risks. And if you fuck up, it seats at you.
Did you see Great Northern?
In the public sector, they avoid that and they refuse to take responsibility. And that's the whole thing. It comes back to these codes of conduct that they're putting on me. The individuals who put the codes of conduct on me are being paid. The investigators are being paid. I'm being expected to put submissions in and fund my own defence with legal representation, with all at my cost.
Yeah.
Fuck off. Like, if you want to put a code of conduct on me, you take it out of your own pay and we'll see how you go.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I reckon those codes of conduct will stop tomorrow.
Well, that's what we're noticing with a lot of what's going on in the US at the moment. Is a lot of these departments that have arguably been achieving nothing, doing nothing, producing nothing. They're all shut down now and nobody's missing a beat. It's beautiful.
That's exactly right. And that's the whole
beautiful
thing.
To watch.
The quality of life.
I'm not going to say that the individuals doing those roles, particularly that middle management shit, are bad people, right? That's the system. That's the game. I've applied for a job there. Fair play. It's not a personal thing to any of them. But most of those roles could disappear tomorrow and not a thing would change.
No, that's exactly
There would be you're not making any difference to the world in any way, shape, or form. You're certainly not making it better.
No.
Quite
clearly they're making it worse.
Well,
quite clearly they have a meaningless role that is sucking resources out of the globe
from the active people.
Look, it's not contributing to the well-being and the progress of society.
No.
None of this shit is actually $70,000 in codes of conduct does not contribute to the progress of tomorrow.
No, and
it's just shit.
Vindictive
crap.
When I look at the job ads that are run for these councils, ours and other councils, and I go, what in the blue hell is this job? What?
We spoke about that job down at Indigo Shire Council where I could have done the job. What was it? Economic development.
Oh, yeah, whatever
it was. You had the vibe.
It's all about the vibe.
No experience.
I sit there with it. Just most of these jobs are useless. They produce nothing. They serve nobody.
They serve themselves.
And
then they create more staff to do nothing. To serve themselves, to create more staff to do nothing.
We've created all this paperwork that needs to be filed and shuffled and moved. And there's now a policy that indicates that we need somebody to look at this more closely. So we'll have to put 90 grand towards my cousin or
Yes.
my wife, or my geez,
my business partner.
I just happen to know somebody who'd
or
be
a
really
shell
good
company
with this
that I may
idea.
have an
Yeah.
interest in.
I'm all of a shell companies.
Or a private foundation.
Yeah, the Dean McRae Foundation.
A private foundation.
But
Private foundations manifest heavily in these things, and
it does my head in. And look,
I'm sick and tired of people just like the NDIS thing. It looks like it's coming to a screeching halt.
I don't know, 5 million disabled people out of
No, but
25. It's only growing.
I think it was the massive growth industry for people who were just absolutely strapping the napkin on and hammering that trough.
Well, they're still strapping and hammering it. Like,
Yeah.
it's phenomenal. 5 million disabled allegedly in Australia.
There was a provider for the NDIS.
If ever you needed to know that the politicians are lying bullshit artists, if 20% of Australians are disabled, mate, I'm not sitting here. That's the biggest load of bullshit on planet Earth.
There was a recent Supreme Court ruling against the NDIS provider. And it was they got this is a news story from About Regional, which is aboutregional.com.au from the 29th of January, so it's fresh. It's only the 6th of Feb, so it's a week old. NDIS provider fined $2 million after client died from choking.
From choking?
Yes. Now, the highest civil penalty ever imposed on an NDS provider has been handed to a southeast New South Wales-based not-for-profit after one of its clients died from choking in Canberra. So I think that's a fair indication that these people need to be responsible, they need to provide services, and they need to have things in place, and it doesn't come for nothing.
Look,
so $2 million fine. There's been a lot of indiscretions in that space.
Yeah.
That's a recent
red hot for rorting, without a doubt.
And fundamentally what occurs is, from what I can gather from that ruling, is that the provider didn't have people with sufficient training looking after the people in their care. Now, this comes back to what we were talking about before. If you want to run a business where you pay people peanuts and you don't have the required level of expertise in your workforce, and that you're charging out at a rate appropriate, like, you know what I mean? But again,
as somebody who vowed and declared that he would never ever employ another person in his working life, I will never do it. You want to work for me, you're subcontracting, you're running your own shit, I'll pay you relative to that.
That's okay.
Off you go. But if 5 million of our 25 million population are disabled, and let's say, I'm going to guess, let's say 5 million count as elderly,
and 5 million count as kids.
5 million count as kids. We've got 10 million people to look after 15 million people.
No, it won't work.
The mass is broken. That's just a very, very basic math, of course. But we're already broken. Now, and
out of those remaining 10, I'm sure 5 of them have got some impairment that require some level of.
Out of the 10 that are there, you've either got people who are very, very inexperienced,
or very, very working for the government.
Very working for the government.
Very, very producing fuck all.
But somewhere in the middle of all that, and
somewhere in the middle of all that is about 1 in 10.
One in 10 from the 10 million.
Yeah, so
let's that are in a position to, one, not only be productive members of society, but work, contribute, and do it. But then, how do you train them for these roles where, how do you find people who are going to, let's go? And I, again, first-hand experience with that. We had some great carers there, lovely, lovely ladies. But when he shit himself, which happened quite often, it was a horrible thing to have to clean up. His health stuff for them, that was okay. That was probably one of the easier jobs. But identifying the medical stuff, they're not there. They're not trained doctors. They're not nurses. These are nice people, usually women, more often than not.
Well, they were, and that was
and their training got them to this point here. Now they probably
but
or may not.
They were used as a slave class
for sure,
and that's the whole. That's
part of this 10 million we're talking about are these types of people. They're lovely, and they want to do well, and they want to work, and they want to contribute, and they don't want to be on the government team. And they're sitting there with these jobs.
But they're paid by people who are too important to look after their own people.
Of course, but this money comes from fucking nowhere.
No, but what I'm saying is, when you can earn $40 an hour being special in your role,
yes,
you can pay someone $20 an hour to look after your elderly parent.
Sure.
And you can just go and see them when they're clean and smelling nice.
Yes. But the same people, though, that are doing those types of roles, so if you're talking about not sufficiently trained, well, how do you find people that are going to be sufficiently trained?
That's the whole thing. And that's where the whole, this is where the whole thing breaks. This is where the whole thing breaks down.
And it's going to stay broken.
Yes, because they won't pay the money that it takes to do the job properly. And
because money's not a magical thing that comes out of thin air. It just so happens that it's been concentrated in the pile of wankers in the corner.
But the whole model breaks down. The whole model of aged care or NDIS breaks down when you have to pay
aged care, disabled care, and child care.
Yes, when you have to pay the carers a proper wage.
Sure, but again,
the whole thing breaks down when you have to pay these people a proper fucking wage. Because what people want to do is say, I'm a school teacher. I'm $100,000 a year. I'll pay you 50 to look after my Muppet kids, and I'll keep the other 50.
Yeah.
Well, what happens when you have to pay the childcare $100,000 a year? Well, guess what? You look after your own fucking kids.
Well, of course.
You look after your own parents.
And you look at when I grew up. Certainly, Mum didn't have to. Well, she wasn't working. She was at home. That was part of it.
Well,
Dad worked his clacker off.
But we've sucked ourselves into this whole consumption, ownership. Look at me, I'm special.
Society's in a lot of strife.
Society has gone and look, society's gone down a path whereby we've lost complete contact with where our food comes from. We've lost complete contact with our own degree of personal health. Yeah. We've lost complete contact with what our real obligations are as a human. And society needs to look. Me and you aren't going to correct this shit. We can just talk about it, and I'm sure what we're saying resonates with people, and they've all had their own degrees of this type of stuff. But at least the conversation's starting to happen. But
well, look, I'm not in this garb because I like to wear. It's not a fashion statement.
No,
I will leave here and very, very soon.
Yes,
because I have a job to go to.
Yes,
yes, at 10 o'clock at night, I actually have a job that I will go and undertake at what's, I guess, in some people's eyes, an ungodly hour to get the job done and to make it work for that particular business owner that I'm going to look after. But I can still sit here and look at all these projects I'm running, and most people who are watching this and have an idea that I'm doing car sales and I'm doing pest control and I'm doing, I'm running a little career company, business, enterprise, if you will. And you sit there and kind of go, I'm not working in all these things because I'm going to retire fat and wealthy. I'm doing this because I've got bills to pay and costs of living to pay. Now, arguably, I could probably downsize the things that I do and kind of streamline them a little bit and go, all right, I'm going to just do 2 jobs instead of 3. Then which one's going to be more profitable over the next 10 years? Which one's a hedged bet against the next attempt of COVID thing? But I sit there and I look at
here I am. I've had what's 2025. I've been running my own business in a sign writing sense since 1990.
Yeah.
So that's 35 years.
Yes.
But I've also got side gigs.
Yeah.
I've got an audio production company.
Yeah.
I've got a feral pest control
management
business
thing. Yeah.
I don't know what the future holds. I've seen so much disruption and so much erosion, and even to the point, and this is one of the things that we talk about the global stuff a lot here on this program.
Yeah, for sure.
But we also need to really focus on the micro stuff when a group in the community want to ostracize you and to bring a laser beam focus of destruction upon you and to try and ruin your business and your reputation and everything that you've built up over 20 odd years. That's really debilitating, and that has had a massive impact on me. It's cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And even to the point where I'm encountering it still on a daily basis. But, you know, as we've said, we're fortunate. We're able-bodied,
Yeah.
unencumbered, and we can withstand. But it only takes
I'd take me to break a leg, and I'd be in a lot of trouble.
Yes, absolutely. And
if I broke a leg, I'd be going, shit, okay, I've got some real shuffling here to do.
Yes.
And, you know, I'd still probably have to figure out how to go to work. And
but
I'd still
it would heal, and you could return to doing what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. But it would definitely be a problem.
For me, were I to say I contracted something that removed my ability, my sight.
Yep.
I'd be up shit creek.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, there's not much between a successful functioning person and a person who can't. And society's geared not to pick those people up.
Yeah. And it also, there's also a natural inclination from society. When I say society, that upper echelon, that special group who have worked out really well how to remove people's ability to feel like they can operate independently.
Yes.
They
want you dependent. They want you dependent.
And I'm just trying to think of the way to say it, because people go, oh, well, you just think that I'm, because there are people who all say,
they create that warm security blanket.
Yes,
we'll catch you.
It's a false sense of security for people.
Yeah, we'll catch you.
I mean, look, I have a role available for somebody at the moment, right? The pay directly is modest. The potential upside for somebody who wants to take it, run it, work it, using a couple of assets that I've purchased, could be quite reasonable for somebody. But somebody's got to have the balls and to back themselves.
Well, somebody has to work.
Somebody has to. Well, lots of them. I've had quite a few inquiries about work, and they all the first question.
Some people think work is turning up at 8 and leaving at 5
and
doing nothing.
The first question I get asked, and this opportunity is still available for the right person. Probably there could be even more opportunities, but I'm not going to employ anybody. I don't want to employ anybody. I'm happy to have a friendly partnership, whatever, right? But the first question anybody asks who inquires, what's the hourly rate? How much do I get a week? That depends on how much you work. If you sit at home and do fuck all, I'm not giving you a thing.
Yeah.
I have no interest in paying anybody to sit at home.
You're talking about a contractor.
Absolutely, I'm talking about a contractor.
If I was to take my crystal clear key criteria for any employee is, I will not employ anyone that makes my life harder.
Yes.
I will employ people who make my life easier.
Sure.
And if you make my life easier, so that means that come Friday, there's enough income within the business
generated from your work
to pay you, and there's a bit left for me. My life's easier.
I will then take on the responsibility.
I will then ask you to come back next week.
yeah. That's it. And I say to people all the time, I don't want to be your fucking parent.
And I'm not going to take a day out of my productive work week to hold your fucking hand whilst you make your pay and I lose money.
Yes.
Like, that's not
if
how
I'm dipping into my production to pay for your lack of production, we have a significant problem.
That's where I'm at with apprentices.
If
Albo wants to pay me $100,000 a year to babysit an apprentice, no worries.
Sure.
Send one around tomorrow.
Yep.
In the meantime, no.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna nursemaid a frigging apprentice to have them turn around in a few years' time to tell me that I don't know shit, they know everything, and they're going opposition against me.
I reckon I've probably been involved maybe directly training in hospitality in the chef space when I was there for a lot of years, 20 odd years, 25, 24, whatever it would be. I would have had probably 30 apprentices coming through. Out of them, I reckon 5 were viable long term. 5 are probably still cooking.
Yes.
5 are cooking at a high standard. There might be another 5 that are, I don't know, like.
But you're talking about an industry, and this is again.
It's another shit industry that, you know.
But is it?
Yep.
Or is that?
That's a shit industry.
Well, but they're all shit industries.
Sure. It's a non-viable industry 80% of the time.
Making signs is a shit industry in terms of what you have to do to make a viable business. And you just don't turn up on Monday and just put your 8 hours in and give you a time card in. And it just doesn't happen. You have to keep developing, moving, creating markets, meeting customer demand. Yeah. When I've been in an industry for 35 years, you go through phases where you're flavour of the month, and then people are over you, and then your flavour of the month, and people
particularly because yours in a lot of ways are artistically driven,
but also
but as are restaurants.
And this is all judged by people who've got no idea.
Of course.
And also people who've just got agendas. And
I've had people come up to me at weddings and various things, you know, in my chefing life. Mate, that was the best pork I've ever had, and they're being complimentary as shit. And you're walking away, oh, thanks for that. And you're always scratching your head, John. There's no fucking pork on that menu. What was he so impressed about? And and that's I guess the other side of it is they're so impressed and they've got no idea what they've just had. It's beautiful. But the other obviously alternative to that is when they go, well, that was the shittest chicken I've ever eaten. You know, and you were eating fish, dickhead.
Yes.
Like, and you just kind of, you know, it's got to be the same in sign writing. You know,
and it's just this whole disconnect between what you're doing and what they think you're doing.
Yeah.
And the worst part is it's being judged by imbeciles.
Well,
who've got
on that topic, they have no clue whatsoever.
Absolutely no idea.
And you've dedicated your life to being very, very good at it.
But even just, you know what you're doing and you're trying to give them the most viable long-term product and the most value for money that they can possibly achieve. Like, one of the most extraordinary interactions I ever had was with ex-general manager of Temora Shire Council, Gary Lavelle.
Yeah.
And it was over.
2 gigs.
Yeah, absolutely over. Things along this nature. And it was when we were at relationships were at a low level.
Yeah.
And Gary rocks back in his chair and says, oh, but you're very expensive. And this is in relationship to my signwriting. And I said, in comparison to what?
Yep.
What are you measuring this against, Gary? More often than not, you give me a problem, I come up with a solution, you accept the solution, I enact the solution, and you pay me. I'm very expensive compared to fucking what?
Yeah.
And I said to him, but
well, we got a guy down at the depot there that does nice colouring.
If you've got a problem, pick a job. Obviously, there's one sitting in your craw. Pick a job, and we'll go up to my workshop right now, and I will pull out that job sheet, and you can inspect the time and materials on that particular job to satisfy yourself that there's not some great
conspiracy there to
Temora Shire Council tax on my pricing. And of course, he shit himself.
And didn't want to.
No, it was just one of these opinions that he had that he hadn't considered. He hadn't even thought it through. He had no fucking idea of what I was providing for him.
Yep.
And he had no idea of the context in what I was providing it. Yet he had the stupidity to sit there and say I was expensive.
Yeah.
Compared to fucking what? Compared to fucking what, you muppet? I'm expensive compared to what?
Yeah, that's right.
A trip to Mars? Maybe. I don't know. How much is a trip to Mars?
I'll have to ask Elon. Elon will let me know. I'll give him a ring later.
And this is someone who's on 250,000 a year, sitting there running a workforce, and they've got costs and they've got all this supposed knowledge, and they sit there and they make a statement like that.
Oh, and it's absolutely endemic across these
This
plants
is what I mean.
that have never worked a day out of government.
These people sit there spending other people's money, paying payrolls out of other people's money. They don't sit there and they don't have to run the plant. They don't have to pay the fuel. They don't have to roll the road. They don't have to build a kilometre of road and then wait 3 months to get paid for it.
No, that's right.
They don't have to go to the bank and get an overdraft to cover, and then they don't have to, you know what I mean? Like,
I know. I've been there. I'm doing it now.
The detachment of these people and the absolute stupidity of these statements is beyond, like, it's just incomprehensible. And you sit there and they expect you to take them seriously.
Oh, look, they're very serious people. They're on 250 grand a year. You got to take me serious. I got a title. Do you know who I am?
Yeah, well,
do you know who I am?
He's got a public service medal, Gary.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, I have a job to go to.
I'm telling you,
I have a job to go to. We
and
can do this all night for sure.
Stupidity is.
So, should be there running businesses and having a crack in life. Ladies and gentlemen, an hour and 35 minutes.
I feel a lot lighter.
Yeah, good.
I've got a bit off my chest.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you're feeling better. I always feel good.
You're going to get the.
Even if I don't, I've got to go to work, ladies and gentlemen. I've got to go to work because I'm a very lazy individual.
Yes, you are.
Sucking on the
up at 4, I hope.
I'll be up at 4 like every morning, yes. Another night of very little sleep. And I'll go and sell 5 cars. Because...
And you'll help some people in the process.
Well, you know, look, if people come in and say, I'd really like a nice car, and I go, I've got one, and I can get them a good deal, that helps.
But even in the meantime, if someone rings you up and needs some help in a completely unrelated area, you'll help them as well.
I tell you what, my phone rings far more often than I would deem sensible, really. And I go, oh, what? But,
no.
You know, it is what it is. But look, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes, sometimes. Certainly,
look,
I have my moments as saint and sinner. There's no doubt about it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you everybody for tuning in.
Take responsibility for your own actions. Grow the fuck up. Have a good life. Be nice to people. Work hard.
Can't disagree with any of that. Everybody have a great night. Tune in next week. If you do like and you're watching on the YouTube, hit the little subscribe or the notification or whatever it is.
Oh, by the way, follow up from last week. I put me $100 into Katie's fundraiser, and by all means, if you can, Kate Fantanell, Lady Liberty, look her up. She's trying to raise money for a legal challenge to
the WA government,
the WA gun laws. And I think it's a worthwhile cause. Look, I think it's worthwhile enough to put $100 of my hard-earned in. Make your own mind up. But I'm telling you, every time we don't challenge a law that we don't think's correct, is another law. It's another shackles. It's another link in the chain.
As Kerry Packer said during that what's the name? Every time you clans bring in another law, you're taking away somebody's privileges from them.
No.
And Kerry Packer was a very, very wise individual on many, many topics. So, ladies and gentlemen, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Have a great night. We'll see you this same time next Thursday.
Yeah, we'll be here.